Alright, so today I'm going to be talking critically about a movie intended for children. Frozen came out in 2013. Yeah, I know, you probably don't remember it. It kind of snuck under the radar.
Frozen doll.
Oh, yep, no, right, I remember now. It was the biggest hit Disney animated films it had in a long, long time. Let It Go was overplayed so much, it rivals the legacy of the great My Heart Will Go On plague of 1998. It's gotten to the point where jokes about the song are overplayed. And so, I am not going to make a single Let It Go joke this entire video. But the camera's still on me. Now, it's not a bit, I'm actually not gonna... The history of this movie's production is kind of interesting. I remember before this film was publicly titled Frozen, it was going to be just a straightforward telling of, the Snow Queen. One of roughly a quintillion Hans Christian Andersen stories Walt Disney himself considered adapting all the way back in the 30s. It was eventually shelved in favor of stuff like this. The project wasn't revisited again until the late 90s, in which it was developed until 2003 before being completely scrapped again. Finally, in 2008, the project got off the ground again. Chris Buck, co-director of Disney's Tarzan, was brought in to run the project, and he had one specific goal. He wanted to redefine the age-old idea of true love. Originally, however, the plot stayed true to the original story of the Snow Queen, with the titular Snow Queen being the antagonist of the film. According to Josh Gad, who was attached to the project at the time,
I like warm hugs.
Elsa was going to be played by Megan Mullally. Then, reportedly, they ran into story issues and it entered production hell once again. Until 2008, after the success of Tangled, when it was officially announced under the new bisyllabic name of Frozen, for reasons that I'm sure are completely unrelated. It was also announced that the production would move away from traditional animation in favor of CG. A very important addition to the creative team here was husband and wife duo Robert Lopez and Kristen Anderson Lopez, who of course wrote the musical numbers for the film. Robert Lopez was known mostly for his comedy music work in Avenue Q and Book of Mormon, while Kristen Anderson Lopez had been doing off-Broadway work as well as some jobs doing some children's media every now and then. They combined forces for Frozen and it paid off. And this is one thing that pretty much always pays off for Disney. When in doubt, hire someone from Broadway. And yeah, since that worked so well with the writing of the music, they decided to, I guess, do that with the entire cast as well. But yeah, in the end, the movie happened, people loved it, and then Let It Go played for eternity. I've had problems with this movie ever since I first saw it, so I'd like to get those thoughts out of my brain and onto the internet in video form, where they rightfully belong. And also, yeah, it's a movie intended for children, but here's the thing. It's art. Just because it is an animated film intended for families does not make it any less worthy of critical thought. And I think it's important to recognize that for animation to be respected as a medium. Also, a sequel's coming out soon, which means my video will probably get more hits than usual. And also, it's the holidays, so it's a great time for ad revenue on YouTube, and all that is definitely a factor. What, you thought I was doing this for the art? You fool. You child. You nerd. Fuck you. Frozen opens with a frankly strange choice. A song that establishes a style of music for the film that we will never hear again. Now, it isn't a choice I'd straight up call bad, just odd. I mean, it's cool that they wanted a more traditional Norwegian sound in the film, but seeing as the rest of this thing is basically a pop musical, it's kind of a poor introduction to the actual film we're about to watch. I like the song though, it's a nice song. The film really opens though with two tiny princesses named Anna and Elsa.
The sky's awake, so I'm awake, so we have to play.
Having fun with Elsa's ice powers. They go unexplained in this movie, which is not actually a problem at all. The movie doesn't have to explain why magic exists. It can just exist, like in every other fairy tale that has ever existed. Anyway, stuff goes wrong. Elsa hits Anna with her ice powers. Headshot. And it's a problem. The royal family heads up to the mountains to see a troll shaman dude, and he erases Anna's memory of magic to protect her. Also, little boy Kristoff is there and sees it and gets quote-unquote adopted, which is to say, kidnapped, by the trolls. I'm gonna discuss the trolls and Kristoff later. For now, let's focus on this inciting incident. It's a bit contrived, but that is not necessarily a problem. The real problem, in my mind, is this. Anna seeing Elsa's ice powers later in the movie has no negative effects, making the mind erasing bit not actually matter to the story beyond creating a rift between the sisters, and this isn't a movie-breaking problem, I just wish they had been able to find a better solution here. But writing-wise, it is a genuine pickle to figure out a way to establish Elsa's powers, establish the sisters' relationship before Elsa becomes a shut-in, and then also create an inciting incident that explains Elsa's introvertedness going forward. That's a lot of stuff to do at once, and I respect that that was a difficult writing problem for them to try to solve. But I will say that Anna not knowing about Elsa's powers doesn't seem necessary for the story. So they could have just had the incident occur, the troll fixes the problem, but he's like, hey, don't do this shit again. And that establishes the seriousness enough to explain why the parents push Elsa to repress her feelings and powers. Anna, however, is not told this and still wants to hang out with her sister, and so we get the exact same dilemma but without as much contrivance. I imagine that they might not want Anna to know about the powers specifically because later in the movie, she pulls off Elsa's glove and the ice powers happen and Anna had no idea. And if she did that while knowing about the ice powers, they might have been afraid that that makes Anna look like a jerk. So I can respect that they might have wanted to preserve Anna's character more than worry too much about this, not plot hole, but this plot issue. From here we get the do you want to build a snowman sequence, which I think is my favorite part of the entire film. The character animation is great, the actual vocal performances are great, and by the end of the song, I think most normal human beings with a non-frozen heart genuinely feel bad for both Elsa and Anna. It's really good stuff. Apparently at multiple stages of this film, they nearly cut this song, which kind of blows my mind because they were going to cut this song in favor of the Ice song from the beginning, and not a fair trade. I'm so glad that they didn't do that. Anyway, Anna and Elsa's parents are existing simultaneously in a Disney movie, so obviously they gotta die. As a result, Elsa becomes queen when she turns 21. Anna's excited to not be isolated and sings a song about it. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's fine. Let's skip to the party itself. The awkwardness between two sisters who used to be close but now hardly know each other is palpable and very well done, and in its own way, very, very sad. The relationship between the sisters in this movie is easily the best part of it, and I have basically no complaints whenever this aspect of the movie is at the forefront. Then we get Hans. We're gonna have to talk about Hans. Much has been made of him, his place in the movie, the twists surrounding him, all that stuff. So let me get a few things out of the way. Number one, I actually don't mind the twist. It's a bit cartoonish.
You won't get away with this.
I already have.
But I think the twist has been sullied in retrospect because Disney kept doing the twist villain for a while, and it didn't really work all the time. Number two, while, again, I don't mind the twist, his turn goes from one to evil a bit too quickly. Him secretly planning to seize power is fine, it makes sense. He's interested in Anna because he's a gold digger who wants to use her for her influence. However, I think having that translate to murderer is a huge leap. It takes him from human being to demon murder man incredibly quickly. It makes him so evil that Kingdom Hearts 3 has him turn into a literal demon monster, because him instantly being cool with letting Anna die is really evil to a point that makes him a demon man. So yeah, Anna meets Hans and they sing a fun song that I also like this one. And after the song, they decide to get married. And we run into Frozen's other big point it seems to want to make.
You can't marry a man you just met.
You got engaged to someone you just met that day?
All right, so this is not a bad point to make. This is, however, the wrong film to try and make this point. On the face of it, this is tied into the alternate definition of true love that the film is going for, which is a message I wholeheartedly support. However, practically, what it really manages to do is force the movie to spend half its runtime distracting from Anna and Elsa's relationship, and as a result, not giving it anywhere near as much time as it deserves. So yeah, this is like my big thing with this movie. What the hell are these two dudes doing, taking up so much of this movie? Why can't we focus on Anna and Elsa? Because yeah, let's skip ahead a bit. Elsa has a freak out, everything turns to ice, Elsa runs away to sing a power ballad and accidentally create sentient life. Anna goes after her and leaves Hans in charge, and then we pretty much immediately run into Kristoff. I like Kristoff. I think his actor, Jonathan Groff, is extremely cool and talented. Dude's a bucket of talent. And it's a shame that they put Groff in a movie where he sings only one really lame song that doesn't show off what he can really do. But also, Kristoff kinda doesn't belong in this movie.
Wait, what?
Here's the problem. Kristoff was originally named Kai in the original version of the story. He and Anna were the heroes, while Elsa was the villain. And in that version of the movie, all this banter and their journey together and eventually falling in love and whatnot, great. In fact, in the movie, all the banter and whatnot is very entertaining in its own right as you watch it. There's nothing wrong with that stuff.
Didn't your parents ever warn you about strangers?
Yes, they did.
But in this version of the movie, Kristoff is a distraction. You spend all this time focused on Anna's relationship with him, when it should be focused on the relationship with Elsa. And to a certain extent, this is completely intentional. They want the thing to be familial love, and they were looking to make that a big surprise twist. But in my opinion, this is the most egregious example of choosing a big twist at the end over the best version of the story that could exist. That said, I'm not really sure there's a solution here from a writing perspective. This is an adaptation of an existing story, and in order for it to qualify as such, you have to hit very specific hallmarks of said story. The story of the Snow Queen is about a peasant girl named Greta, not Anna, but Greta, who travels to see the titular queen in order to save her boyfriend Kai from the Snow Queen. She overcomes many obstacles by befriending criminals and praying to Jesus, yes, really, and eventually saves him from being under the Snow Queen's spell with true love's kiss. And yeah, the only thing even remotely the same in the final film is that there's a trip up a mountain to see a Snow Queen, and that's it. The earlier Disney version was also different from the original story. In that version, the heroine wants to have her heart frozen so that she can't feel anything because she had a bad experience with dating. Kai acted as her guide, and eventually they fell in love over the course of the journey, yada yada yada. Frankly, with all those drastic changes over the course of the production, it's kind of amazing that the film is as good as it ended up being. All this is to say that it was important for them to keep the journey up the mountain, as that's the only aspect of the original story that they were actually choosing to adapt. You know, unless they wanted to have the trolls go to a school run by Satan, which is also an actual thing from the original Hans Christian Andersen story. But I guess they didn't want to do that for some reason. Can't imagine why. So unfortunately, Anna and Elsa were always going to spend a large portion of the movie apart due to the nature of the film's production. I guess I just wish that they had found a way to keep the focus on the sisters' relationship throughout. That just would have been nice. One great opportunity to do this, I feel, was through Olaf. After Anna and Kristoff meet and banter a bit, they run into Olaf. He's a snowman Anna and Elsa created together when they were kids, and then Elsa accidentally gave life in her power ballad from before, which I guess I didn't talk about that. I'll just tell you real quick. It's a good song. It's a good Defying Gravity sequel. And also, the hair thing that people complained about on the internet, some people called it an animation mistake. No, they intentionally did that because who gives a shit if her hair phases through when you can't see it? The emotion looks nice. Stop talking about animation if you don't understand how animation works. Anyway, Olaf is a great idea for a character, and I also think he's good in the movie. Some people just turned this video off because, you know, some folks hate Olaf, but I believe that has more to do with the incessant and omnipresent marketing surrounding his character rather than the character himself. And yeah, the Disney marketing machine is a monster. Olaf is mostly used as a cute, funny presence throughout the film, which is fine, but I wonder if he doesn't represent a squandered opportunity. What if Olaf, due to his connection to Elsa, could give Anna insights into Elsa's inner thoughts and anxieties? Just small things every once in a while, stuff that helps Anna understand her sister little by little as they go throughout their journey. I don't know, I feel like that would be a small but vital change that could have strengthened the idea that the film is about the actual sisters, instead of the movie kind of dropping that idea in the second act and then clumsily picking it back up in the third act. Eventually, after some silly antics and some romantic tension, Anna and her pals get to Elsa. Anna and Elsa talk, but Elsa wants to be alone. Being reminded that even in complete isolation she's hurting the people of Arendelle does not help her mental state, it turns out. She accidentally zaps Anna again and kicks everybody out. This is another mistake, I believe, though a small one. The climax of the film, I feel, really should have taken place in the ice castle. In the version of the movie we got, everybody goes back to Arendelle for the third act, which, you know, it's fine, you know, the return home, it's part of story structure, but having the entire third act take place on top of the mountain and then going back after the problem's solved would have just been a little bit better in my mind. You know, have Hans and the others show up to the mountain just like they do in the actual movie, and then let the third act stuff happen all in the ice palace. I don't know, I feel like it's a better location. A barren lake of ice is so boring in comparison. Look at that white void that they're just in for the third act. Not a terribly engaging piece of scenery. That's all I'm saying, but that's basically a nitpick. Back to the movie. Kristoff notices something's wrong with Anna, and he takes her to his quote-unquote family, which are the trolls. And okay, here we go. I hate everything about the trolls. Let me start off with this. Why is Kristoff connected to the trolls at all, apart from it being convenient for the plot? He was apparently raised by the trolls, and yet he has the exact same job he would have had if he was raised by humans. He acts like someone raised by humans. Nothing about his character changes due to his relationship with the trolls. The only thing him being raised by the trolls does is make getting Anna to them easier, and it facilitates the worst song in the movie. Yeah, look, I like the vast majority of the songs in Frozen. I don't really hate any of them except for Fixer Upper. It is a terrible song, I hate it, and worst of all for a song in a musical, in my opinion, it does absolutely nothing for the story. I believe that every song in a musical should serve a purpose other than just entertainment, just like any scene in a movie should serve more than one purpose. Olaf's song in Summer establishes his character, particularly highlighting his naive innocence. Let It Go single-handedly covers a major character shift for Elsa, and it's an important element of the plot. Love is an Open Door is a song that serves to establish Hans and Anna's relationship and play into the idea that they're in love. Fixer Upper is a song that exists to have the trolls mistakenly believe Kristoff brought a girlfriend home. You would think that maybe it would progress Anna and Kristoff's relationship a bit, make them realize they have feelings for each other. It doesn't. It doesn't do that at all. It's simply a 3-minute diversion until the movie remembers that Anna is dying. So yeah, that's the strongest criticism I have for this movie. I don't like the silly troll song. Getting back into it, the silly song is soon superseded by sudden seriousness as Anna succumbs to sickness. Troll Dude says that an act of true love will thaw a frozen heart, and so Kristoff rushes her off to Arendelle. Meanwhile, Elsa is captured by Hans and a small army and is taken back to Arendelle as well. Elsa is imprisoned, Anna is brought to Hans, and the Hans twist happens, which we've talked about that. Hans is a bad boy. We get a second fake out where Kristoff thinks that he needs to do the true love thing, and Olaf has a genuinely nice moment.
Olaf, you're melting.
Some people are worth melting for.
One could argue that this is an act of true love and should therefore thaw Anna's heart. But, you know, seeing as in the end Anna performs the act of true love, I guess it's easily explained that she needs to be the person to do the selfless true love act for it to work. Also, does Olaf even count, seeing as he's essentially some sort of snow homunculus? Is he a person? Is this a question I should be asking? Probably not. Putting those thoughts aside, Anna rushes to protect Elsa, who is being hunted by sudden serial killer Hans, and she stands in the way of his sword, and then there's a fake out involving her death, and then the day is saved when the act of true love is revealed to be sisterly love, which, you know, like I said, that's nice. And then Hans gets punched in the face, and you know, sometimes it's just nice to see certain people get punched in the face. And then the movie ends really quickly with every possible loose end being tied up in the span of like 4 minutes, and it's kind of rushed if I'm honest. Also, we don't get a reprise of Do We Want to Build a Snowman or Let It Go or anything. I know why we don't get a reprise of Do You Want to Build a Snowman because, as we covered before, they nearly cut that song, which is insane. But the only song in the third act, and the last song we ever hear in the movie, is Fixer Upper, and I will never forgive them for that.
I like Frozen. In fact, after I wrote this, I liked Frozen more than I liked it before. All the good things I think are extra good now. The stuff that I have criticisms of, you know, I still have criticisms of, but I like the stuff that I already liked more upon rewatching it. So I think that's the sign of a movie that I think is genuinely a classic movie. I think it's fair to say that. Thanks for watching the video. Hope you enjoyed it. Like, subscribe, whatever. I don't care about any of that. So this is the part of the video where I'm supposed to promote my Patreon. I don't like doing that, but here's some names of people who gave me $10. If you want your name up there, you can give me $10, but I wouldn't give me $10. That's a lot of money. $1 more than enough. You don't have to give me any money, really. This is why I'm bad at this, because I don't like telling people to give me money. Patreon, if you want to give me money, you can. If you don't, I mean, don't. That's the gist of it, really. Video's over. Bye.